What up, nerds, and welcome to another plant-based episode of Straight Chilling, the weekly horror movie review show where you chill and we kill, slice, dice, and chop up yet another horror movie. My name's Bob. I'll be your host for the evening. This is episode 480, recorded on Monday, June 10th, 2024. Tonight, we're talking about Invasion of the Body Snatchers from 1978. Before we get into it, let me introduce everyone else on the show. First up, calling in from Washington, D.C., we got your boy Randeezy. What's up, man?
Do you even know who I am?
What's going on, buddy? Good to talk to you. Happy to see you again. Everything is normal. Nothing is unusual.
Totally. You're clearly the real Randy and not the body snatched Randy.
I've never been snatched in my life. What are you talking about? Come on.
Snatch
Come
you
on,
up,
guy.
A little snack. Snack.
Nice. Good idea.
Last but not least, calling in from Seoul, South Korea, we got your boy Soju. What's up, man?
What up? It's your boy Caper Stains. Just been nibbling on little pieces of caper today, you know?
Dude, I love that scene so much in this movie.
That scene's pretty good.
He's like such a... The amount of swagger that this health inspector has is out of control. Like,
Yeah, he's like a homicide detective in the 70s fucking procedural.
Right straight to the
Columbo
soup.
in it.
He knew what was in there. He knew.
if it's a caper, eat it.
Eat it.
I think there's maybe a rat turd in the soup.
Yeah,
Sorry,
I'm going to go straight for it.
I think maybe there's a rat turd. Like, you gotta go deeper with Donald. Donald doesn't.
My boy
can't go
Donald
high
Duck,
pitch.
starring in Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
Oh, yes.
Oh, boys. Before we get into the main event, let's tackle a little bit of housekeeping real quick. If you guys support us at the $5 level or above, you get the chance to vote on a movie we're talking about this July. We got our July poll posted on our Patreon website. It's my takeover month. The theme is getting weird with it. And the three movies
What
are
could
voted
that
between.
possibly mean?
I know. It's just really normal.
It's so
very
cryptic.
normal. movies.
If only, Bob. Tell us about those movies.
Well, the three movies are The Greasy Strangler, Nightmare Beach, and The Ice Cream Mang.
Well, how are those numbers looking? We're heading to the middle of June. Oof.
Sitting at the top of the heap, Nightmare Beach with 44% of the vote.
Oh.
Second place, Ice Cream Mang, 32% of the vote.
Mm.
And bringing up the rear, Greasy Strangler, 24%.
Bring up the reel.
Bring it on
Still,
up.
though, there was a little switcheroo, and those numbers
Yeah.
are pretty close.
Yeah, it's they are pretty close. Still a lot of people left to vote and a lot of time to vote, so it's it's not in the bag yet by any stretch of the imagination.
That's bullshit luck. Bullshit luck.
Up in there, a lot more competitive than mine and Randy's takeover months this year.
Yeah. Yeah, no kidding.
Just slam dunks.
Yeah.
Well,
So, okay. Well, cool.
yeah, that's what happens when you
on.
get weird with it, gentlemen.
I guess
Make
that's
your
what
money
happens
pour.
when people just don't really know what to pick.
Don't know what the fuck these movies
I don't know
these
what
are
any of
some
these are, but the
choices.
promise is not appealing.
blind
I
vote.
have choices.
You do. In other Patreon news, we're dropping mini casts every other Friday. This past Friday, we just dropped a new one. I was talking about the first Omen, the Omen prequel.
Whoa, one of those go backs and revisits them.
Gotta revisit some.
You know how they do. They love to go back.
I do know how they do.
Revisit.
I like the go backs, but I'm not a big fan of the revisitums.
Really? I prefer the revisitums. I'm not a go backer, you know. Always
Different
looking ahead.
strokums,
I'm
You
gonna
know?
go forward and revisit them.
Oh wow.
Fan.
I am.
Okay. All right, Marty McFly, get your ass on there.
We're breaking time.
What's happening? Yeah, the first Omen that just dropped on Hulu last week. So if you haven't seen it
Okay.
yet, you can watch it really easily. Check out my thoughts on that over on Patreon.
I've been meaning to. Bob, what do you think? I think I should check it out.
You could just listen to my review, I think, honestly.
Okay. Well, then, damn.
It's,
You got to join the Patreon first.
I had some higher hopes for that.
it's not terrible, but it is like if you just sat down and thought, I wonder what they would do in an Omen prequel. It is exactly what they do. It is not surprising in the least bit.
Not a top tier revisit, huh?
No, but I mean, like, it could definitely be worse, though. So
yeah, we've seen worse.
I mean, there's no bottom to how much worse it could get.
You're right.
There's no power bottom.
I'm still trying to find
certainly no power.
Where's that bottom?
Been searching for a bottom for a while.
Hit us up.
ISO a bottom power, please.
Comma power. Yeah, that's available on Patreon. Next one coming up is going to be on Friday, June 21st, and it's going to be another Bob joint. I'm going to be talking about In a Violent Nature, which is
great.
in theaters now, and that's going to be on Shudder sometime later this summer. I don't think they have a exact date yet. So
yeah, they need to get out in the summer though. They got to. You know, Straight Chilling calendar demands it be released.
It has to be.
Don't pull any of this late night with the devil bullshit.
Or Terrifier 3. Come on.
Yeah, what the hell's going on?
Christmas in October. That's insane. In other Patreon news, we got a brand new Patreon supporter.
Thank God.
We got to give shouts outs to. A big giant thank you to Jordy M for signing up and showing us some love on Patreon. Every dollar you guys contribute goes right back into the show. And as is tradition around these here parts, we owe you the straight chilling salute. This one goes out to Jody.
Slap my ass.
Thanks very much, Jody. Appreciate you.
So
looks hurting red as it should be.
Looks like Daddy Soju's eating this week, boys.
Man, you're really hanging on by a thread, huh?
Dude, there's a lot of
All
weeks
those
where you just don't eat, apparently.
Sign up now.
Please, God, feed Daddy.
If you want to feed Diddy Soju,
God damn.
sign up.
If we could somehow make this segment any more weird.
Oh, Bob, we can go there.
I have no doubt that we have the capability.
You're right. Still looking for
the
that.
The technology is here.
Still looking for it. This is the last bit of Patreon news I have. And it's a big one. We're going to be reopening the You Pick the Flick for the final time this year.
Whoa, Bob, that's a big change.
It is.
Well, some people were confused about that, so we do need to be clear. This is the last time you will have an opportunity to make us watch a film in 2024.
Yep. So typically we open this up quarterly with 5 spots per quarter. We're going to be we already did the first 2 quarters of the year like normal. We're just combining the 3rd and 4th quarter of the year. So there's going to be 10 picks opening on Sunday, June 23rd at an undisclosed time of day. 10 spots are going to go to 10 different people, and those are going to be the last 10 spots for the whole year.
Holy shit.
There you go. It's the only
Black Friday's got nothing on this shit. People about to get trampled for these things. Get in there.
Yeah, it's they typically go fast, so you'll just have to check our Patreon website, throughout the course of the day, and if it's open, go and grab you a spot. And that's going to be it for this year, and we're going to just kind of slowly work through them throughout the rest of the year. And it should be interesting. 10 different people. Never done it this way before, so we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, you can't hoard the spots. Just to clarify.
Yeah. Correct.
That's true.
You can get one.
Yeah, just one per person. Sunday, June 23rd. You pick the flick.
All right, get ready.
There you go. And that's all the Patreon news. You guys have plugs?
Yes.
No.
Of course. I haven't found that bottom. So I just to mention from last week, but also it's kind of a continuation. So I was on Don't Believe the Hype, the Arctic Monkeys podcast that goes through the entire catalog of the Arctic Monkeys. We were doing the Humbug wrap up that dropped last week. And then this week is the part 2 of that same episode, just kind of continuing on, wrapping up that album. So yeah, check that out. Don't Believe the Hype wherever you get your podcast. Listen to me jaw on about them monkeys.
As often as you reference that podcast, I feel like I'm starting to believe the hype.
Believe it.
No, you're not supposed to do that, Bob. No,
I'm fucking up.
So, but yeah, that's all my housekeeping.
Last thing I'll mention is we haven't done a Joe Bob watch party in a while because I don't stay in town anymore, apparently.
Hollywood Bob.
The next one we should
Jet Set Bob.
Yeah, the next one we should be doing is going to be on Friday, June 21st. So throw that on your calendar. Joe Bob watch party.
Cool.
Nice.
There you go.
All right, Bob. How clean is your house?
Squeaky.
This house is clean.
All right, let's get into the main event. We're talking Invasion of the Body Snatchers, and we're kicking it off with the back of the box.
What's on the back of the box?
Bob, do you have this box and its porn parody version of Invasion of the Booty Snatchers double feature?
The Booty Snatchers. Does that exist? Did you search that?
I didn't, but I will.
It has to, right?
It has to exist. If it doesn't, I'm disappointed in the universe.
Wow, that's
lots
riding on this.
If the Witches of Brestwick exists, Invasion of the Booty Snatchers definitely exists.
Desperately seeking Screwsin probably exists. I gotta think this exists.
I do have this. Arrow Video put out a really, really nice edition of this on 4K recently. I picked that up. Screen Factory also put this out on Blu-ray, I believe. Super easy to find. It's everywhere. Invasion of the Body Snatchers from 1978, rated PG. This is before the invention of PG-13. I imagine this would be PG-13 if it were to come out today. Runtime of 1 hour and 55 minutes. This was directed by Philip Kaufman. Written by W.D. Richter, based on a book by Jack Finney of the same name. Stars Donald Sutherland, Brooke Adams, Jeff Goldblum, Veronica Cartwright, Art Hindle, Leonard Nimoy, some other lovely folks. Plot synopsis brought to you by the back of the box is as follows. When health official Elizabeth Driscoll notices that her lover has become strangely distant, this sets in train
We've all been there, eh, boys?
Word. A series of shocking discoveries that sees both her and colleague Matthew Bennell fleeing for their lives to the sound of ear-piercing alien screams.
The cosmic ballet goes on.
Nice. Gentlemen, have you seen this movie before, and would you recommend folks check it out? Randeezy, kick us off.
Hey there. Hi there. Hi. Yes, I would recommend this. This is one of those movies that I think we've been talking about recently in recent episodes, like remakes, remake-ems, revisit-ems, those sorts of things. And this is one of the better ones, in my opinion. I think it's widely considered one of the better ones, unless I'm mistaken. But yeah, this is just a really, really solid portrayal. It feels authentic, and the performances are great. There's some really fun known actors in this thing to watch work. Really no reason not to check it out, in my opinion.
Right on. Juice, what about you?
So this is a flip on my usual script, and I thought for sure I had seen this before, and maybe because there's so many like parodies or like just spoofs on it or something like that, but I don't think I had. There was one scene in particular where I was like, okay, I feel like I've definitely seen this scene before, but like just the whole film, I don't think I actually had this. I think this is my first watch, and it was a pleasure. It was one of those times where I was like, wow, whoa. There's been a couple times on this podcast where I've watched a classic for the first time and been like, man, yeah, this Wicker Man stands out to me that like held up really well. I think Rosemary's Baby, I think that was my first time watch. But this is one of those I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. This is great. Whoa. This is what it's like to watch a good film again. So I was super excited. So yeah, I would recommend people check it out for sure. And it was great, but I think first time watch for me, actually.
Right. Actually,
Bob,
I didn't answer that question myself. Like,
No.
I had seen this before. Bob, you and I watched this for the first time together. I want to say with a group, didn't we?
Yeah, I think over at the G Twins place. I think we all put this on. Yeah,
it was like this, and like it was right near the time we were about to start the podcast. So this was just some time ago. I want to say, and also like I think Scanners we watched around that same time too.
Yeah, because I haven't seen Scanners either. I don't think.
Ooh,
but we did do an episode on that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't think I was part of that group. Like when y'all threw it on, I don't think I was there for that.
Yeah, that was like the sci-fi horror bender that we went on just before we decided, hey, let's record ourselves making dick and fart jokes for 3 hours.
It's 10 years.
10 years. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
The world has never been the same.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So I think this was my second go at this. So I had seen it before. Definitely do recommend checking it out. I basically echo everything you guys have said. This is a science fiction classic. If you're remotely into science fiction movies, definitely watch this. It's a cultural touchstone, and you've probably heard of Pod People, even if you've never seen this movie before. So yeah, that is a hearty recommendation across the board from the Straight Chilling crew. And to circle back to the Invasion of the Booty Snatchers conversation real quick.
I got it, yeah.
Oh, did you find a movie?
I didn't. Are you going to talk about the album, I assume?
I found the album, yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's a 1979 album produced by George Clinton and Ron Dunbar from Parlay, Invasion of the Booty Snatchers.
Hell yeah.
I need that on vinyl.
George Clinton, like as in Parliament Funkadelic?
Yeah. Wikipedia says it's a P-Funk spin-off group.
Hell yeah.
Okay.
Good. He's the best.
He is the best.
The art definitely shows what looks like aliens grabbing giant ass. So
Yeah. So
that's
well.
Do you get paid more if they do stuff to your butt?
You do.
That album.
It's got 4 stars on All Music. So, you know.
Out of how many?
5 out of 5.
Oh, okay.
All right.
So, yeah, at least something exists.
Yeah. So check that out. It's probably really, really good.
Probably.
So we are going to be spoiling the shit out of this movie. And here comes your warning.
Spoiler warning.
All right, Bob, you got that plot synopsis?
I do indeed.
All right, plop it on me.
Strap in, brace for takeoff. So the movie opens up on an alien planet. We see gelatinous alien life forms fly off into space and land on Earth, taking the form of small pod-like flowers with pink blooms. Elizabeth Driscoll, a scientist at the health department, finds one of the flowers and brings it home. The next morning, her boyfriend, Jeffrey, is acting cold and distant. He takes the garbage out directly to the garbage truck. Elizabeth confides in her colleague Matthew Bennell that she thinks Jeffrey is an imposter. He suggests she speak with his somewhat famous psychiatrist friend, Dr. Kibner, about this issue she's having. It turns out he is promoting a book at a bookstore, and while they're on the way to meet him, a man running through the streets screaming jumps onto their car. He's chased by an unruly mob. He gets killed by a hit and run, and the mob just looks on very emotionless. They end up meeting Kibner, and he suggests Elizabeth is using the imposter excuse as a way out of her relationship. They also meet Matthew's other friend, Jack Belichick, who is an aspiring writer and also a mud spa owner. He thinks Kibner is full of shit. At the mud spa, Jack's wife, Nancy, finds an embryonic adult male resembling Jack with no pulse, and it's also not breathing. They call Matthew to investigate, but the body has suddenly disappeared.
That's Moon Man talk.
Matthew goes to warn Elizabeth of what's happened and finds a half-formed duplicate of her in her apartment. Matthew saves Elizabeth and calls the police, but when they arrive, her duplicate has also vanished. Elizabeth studies the flowers and deduces they're somehow the culprit of all this. Matthew tries to contact several government agencies, but slowly realizes they've all been infiltrated by pod people. Matthew, Elizabeth, Jack, and Nancy all lay low at Matthew's apartment and are almost doubled. They wake up, bash their duplicates, and are chased through the streets of San Francisco. Jack tries to create a diversion and runs off screaming. Nancy follows him. Matthew and Elizabeth hide out in the health department office. Kibner and Jack's duplicates ambush them and explain that aliens will fill the earth with serene, emotionless duplicates. Matthew and Elizabeth lock them in the freezer and escape. They run into Nancy, who has survived by hiding her emotions, but she screams when she sees a dog-human hybrid run through the street. They are separated, and Elizabeth and Matthew hide in the back of a truck and are taken over to a pod factory. They're loading up ships at the docks to be taken to other countries, eventually take over the world. They hide out, and Matthew confesses his love for Elizabeth. She disintegrates in his arms. Horrified, he chases after her duplicate and burns down the pod factory. He hides underneath the pier.
And he makes this sound.
Hell yeah.
Which remarkably like Bob's laughter, so I think Bob might be a pod person.
It's not too far off. You can't trust me. He hides out underneath the pier while they search for him and proclaim that he can't stay awake forever. Later, we see Matthew working in the health department lab with several duplicates, including Elizabeth. He walks in front of the Capitol building and Nancy approaches him. He points at her and screams the terrifying alien screech we've heard throughout the movie. And then we roll those big, beautiful, silent credits.
Yeah, I love a silent credit at the end of a good movie. It's nice.
Especially with the ending like this. Whoa. We've had some good endings lately, boys. Dead and Buried last week was amazing. And
yeah. The Strangers Chapter
Good
1,
equals
classic.
depressing.
Yeah, it was great when it ended. Fantastic
Oh, man.
when it ended.
My favorite part.
The best
My favorite part was sprinting out of the theater.
My favorite part was seeing those big, beautiful credits roll.
Yes.
Let's spend the rest of the episode talking about The Strangers Chapter 1.
Let's do it again. Let's rewind. Let's revisit
We didn't quite plumb the depths with that one just
Let
yet.
the hate flow.
There's so much depth.
Have you guys seen the original Invasion of the Body Snatchers? The 56, I think, is when it came out.
I don't think
I did when I was very, very drunk.
I haven't either. Yeah, I'm curious about it. I wonder if it's like a Blob situation where it is a little too old that it feels kind of dated. Like if you didn't see it back in the day. Yeah.
Is it? Okay.
Like
it is. I mean, it's like it holds up for its era. Like and because of the concept, like it broke the mold on in its own right. I think. I don't know how I'm not 100% sure what its reputation is like, but I feel like that like this kind of story around that time period during Cold War stuff, like this is a fucking story that people were ready to listen to, and so it hit really, really hard then. But like, yeah, it's a little hokey by today's standards. So this but this is coming out of the 70s, the late 70s, after like government trust is plummeting or has plummeted quite a bit at this point, and I think it's kind of a reaction. I don't remember. I want to say a fog gas or something, swamp gas reflecting over.
That's probably what it was.
The lake.
Venus.
Yeah. That's right.
The light reflecting off of Venus onto some swamp gas.
That's what it was. Yeah,
what it always is.
Yeah,
that swamp gas will get you.
It's out of control.
Yep.
Time to drain the swamp, boys.
About time for another one of these movies, huh? Another remake of this movie, huh?
Well, even starting off this film, talking about like, famously, I think would always criticize the beginning of The Thing, which is another famous remake, around this time and stuff, about the way they handled their space. So when this one kicked off, I actually thought the space stuff I was like, hey, there's some solid space stuff right there to kick off one of these kind of like classic remakes. And so from the very beginning, I was on a positive note there. But yeah, these characters, this was just a fun watch. It's so good. it's like so well. The very beginning when people start taking over and then there's just like weird people in the background of scenes.
Yeah.
It was so fun to me. It was so cool. Like there's this one who's like peeking through this.
The window.
Yeah, that's like the really like clear one. And then you just start looking a little closer.
Then you see them all over the place.
It's like a Hill House sort of deal. Like you're like, oh shit, there's people doing shit here.
It's so cool. And this character of Matthew is great to follow. You know, Donald Sutherland is fantastic here. He's fantastic. And I thought that him and Elizabeth had a great chemistry together. I love the dynamic of them just kind of as friends, and like he's helping her try to figure out like what's going on with her boyfriend and stuff, and like him like cooking that meal and just him doing his whole spiel. Like, so the whole opening was just so great to me. It pulled me in immediately, and I was like so excited to take this ride because all the pieces were set up so well.
There's something about the way characters were drawn in movies from the 70s. It feels like storytellers weren't rushed the way I think they are today. They're like very, very afraid that they're going to lose the audience's attention. But like back in the day, you just get more of a slice of life kind of feel in a lot of these movies before the craziness really starts rolling. So yeah, like when they're just like having that little dinner date kind of thing, there's like, you can feel the chemistry between them. It's like very tangible. And it just like really draws you into the movie and these characters, and you truly care about them in a way that I think a lot of modern movies just don't. I think they're afraid to take the time to do that. But it pays off in this movie.
It's interesting that like the way the dialogue is delivered that I think makes the biggest difference to me with like a movie like this. And it's not all 70s stuff, because I mean, like you watch like an episode of The Love Boat and it's like the most hollow shit you've ever seen in your life. But there's kind of a reversal between film and TV now, because prestige TV is so big and so funded and so sought after by big names and things like that, that, you know, the big films are kind of suffering the loss of that a little bit, especially because theaters are not, you know, producing the box office receipts or like a lot of the stuff. It's just a completely different paradigm now. So I feel like those things have blended so much that they're doing more to keep you interested, because not because people's attention spans are necessarily less, but because they're not necessarily sitting in a big room where there's one giant screen in front of them to watch. They are sitting in their home folding laundry and checking their phone while they're watching things. So people know that, and when they make shit, it has a whole different like set of parameters it needs to hit in order to maintain that focus. So but like anyway, back to the dialogue though, like the way that they tangents of galore, but the dialogue in this, it just feels so lived in and so like truthful, and like it has this sort of like almost what is that called, mumblecore. It's got kind of a mumblecore feel where it almost feels like a little improvised, even though it doesn't quite feel improvised. It just feels very authentic and very conversational, in ways that, you know, that a lot of movies just don't really nail. Like a lot of good movies don't necessarily nail. A lot of times it's either too haughty and too like up there to be like super, super believable, so you have to bolster it with other things, or it's like just completely hollow and just being propped up by like whatever spectacle. This doesn't have that problem. Every part of this movie, from like the spectacle, is just the right amount. The authenticity of the characters and the way they interact is just the right amount. And we have a lot of smart characters in this movie, which makes it easier to connect with them. So, yeah.
Yeah. And you got the supporting characters being played by fucking Leonard Nimoy and Jeff Goldblum. So you've just... I
didn't know Jeff Goldblum was in this movie when he probably was such a delight for I love like not knowing. Yeah.
The star power.
Sutherland was the only character I remember from this, and it's like, there's a ton of star power in this. Go ahead, Bob.
The charisma is just sort of like dripping off the screen with these characters. There's so much fun to watch. I love that he just owns like a mud spa, and like there's major scenes that take place in there. Like what a thing from the past. I don't know that happens anymore. The dude in there who like is getting his belly rubbed down and like his booty slapped on, and it's like what's going on there?
That's just 70s New York, baby.
Yeah.
San Francisco, whatever.
But yeah, when Jeff Goldblum showed up, I was like so pleased. But also, just watching everybody, it's got this weird dynamic from the story point too, where so you watch the opening scene, you know what's going on. Like, so there's not this necessarily like mystery. You have this information that the main characters don't have, but there's still this aspect of, there is this kind of mystery of who are the pod people, and then also to kind of what's going on. So I love the scene that eventually pays off really well, that just kind of keeps going on throughout the movie, of Jeffrey first like taking out the trash, and then throughout the movie we just see this trash, and you really, even though like you know before everybody else how these pod people are these aliens, these plants, they're taking over or whatever, but like you don't know what's going on. And so it's this great balance to where when she disintegrates at the end, oh my god, dude, like, I love watching a good movie. I was like so giddy, I was so excited, because that's amazing. That exactly, that's how I was feeling last night. That payoff,
I mean, yeah.
It paid off so well though, where the whole time you're seeing people take out the trash, but you never really see. And they give you a little bit more each time. Oh, like you get a body, and then you see the birth of these things coming out of the plants or whatever, but you never really see. They hold on to that perfectly well and deliver it at the end to have this impact. Beautiful. Just perfect setup. Perfect fucking setup.
In that sequence, when her body sort of disintegrates and the pod version of Elizabeth pops up like naked, the first thing that came to mind was like, I wonder if our boy Matt Stinson would fuck a pod person. Like that just
that's of course the first thing that comes to everyone's mind.
First thing that comes to mind.
Yes.
So if you're listening, Matt, call in and let us know. We got know.
Let us know if you'd fuck this pod person. Yeah, I don't know. It's just you're dead on that. It's like it hits really strongly in that scene, and like I don't know, like I loved watching it this second time, or I guess maybe even my third time, but I was looking at like how the effects were done in particular, because like kind of side tangent, when I was working at a summer camp, I was a videographer at a summer camp and a photographer, and I helped with some activity where the kids created like pods out of paper mache or whatever, and we filmed it in black and white and had like a little movie premiere or whatever, where it was just this nifty little effect we did with paper mache and like gloves and shit like that. And it was like, it looked kind of good. It looked kind of like, a really cheap, really like infantile version of what they do in this movie. But when she starts disintegrating, I loved looking at how they did that, because they had that done by like putting like, I don't know what it was, but like some kind of like hot glue or something on their face, or like Elmer's glue or something, to make them look flaky and peely or whatever. And then they also had like some sort of like wire or what is it, fishing line or something, like just sort of like pull and like buck up her with her cheeks, and then they cut away for a second, cut back, and there's the dummy, and it falls apart. Like it was just a really fucking simple and cheap and effective thing that I never clocked it before. I was looking intensely for those sort of things this time. So like, I don't know, it's just great practical effects work is I guess the net of it.
Yeah. All the practical effects look solid in this. The pods themselves, they look great. That even so, the human face dog thing I completely forgot about. And when it runs out, dude, it's jarring.
You're an inhuman monster!
I read something about how they achieved that, and they just like cut a face out of paper and like put it on the dog, and like that was
it paper?
Or maybe
I assumed it was like silicone or something.
Know, but
man.
Yeah, that was it. It was like nothing crazy, and it was very effective. I don't know. It freaked me out. It's I don't know. That's probably my favorite effect in the whole movie, though. That and the aliens
it's a fan
at the very
favorite.
beginning. Yeah, like you mentioned, Juice. The very beginning sets it up perfectly.
I love that it's the guy and his dog too. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Well, I was the goop in the rain. It was such a simple thing, but like the goop, and then it's seeing it like spread out. It's like, man, this is from the very beginning. It's like this is looking good. You know, we already had the space scene, but yeah, the effects look great in this, and they're all like distinctly unique, but have this like they make sense for what's going on. I love when they first find that body in the mud spa, and they keep building it. That's what's so great. What I was talking about before with the trash thing, where it like eventually pays off. They slowly build it. You find this body, the hair kind of reaches out, the white hair. Then later you actually see them birth, and then there's a bunch of them. The one scene, which is a weird random scene where I was like, I feel like I'd seen this before, was when Matthew shows back up to Elizabeth's house after he's taken her away. And he shows up with the police, and there's this like fake body in the closet that's really just like dirt and a shape or whatever. Something about that was like so distinct to me. But anyway, like even just the so yeah, the effects look good, and they like set it up, and even going off the effects, but the fucking sound and the shape of the mouths, you don't really have to. It's not a Ouija where you gotta fuck it up with CGI, but just paired with the sound, it looks so it's so distinctly disturbing.
Yeah,
I was thinking about the movie at World's End, watching it this time around, because obviously, and it's well known that they made a major influence, but like the way that they scream in that movie, and they do use effects in that, but it's not like you said, like it's not like the little liquefy tool in Photoshop spreading their mouths a little too wide. That can work in different spots, but it's very rarely done in a way that, in my opinion, that looks convincing. And it's much better to have these people that are supposed to be perfect mimics be absolutely visually perfect, but then have this ungodly, unholy sound that they spew out. It's great.
Yeah,
it's just like a simple, effective thing.
The sound designer is a dude named Ben Burt, who apparently also helped create a lot of the signature sound effects used on Star Wars. But whenever he was designing the scream of the alien in this, it was like, obviously layered with a bunch of stuff, but I think the most distinctive sound that's worked in there is a pig squeal.
I can see that. Yeah,
really
cool,
really effective. Also, throughout the course of the movie, they worked in a lot of like bird sounds and like stuff of nature, and then the longer you get through the movie, that stuff sort of fades away, and it's overtaken by the sounds of the like dump trucks running and crushing all the remains of the humans, and it's just more mechanical, which is
I didn't notice that, but that's nice
like
attention to detail for sure.
Subconscious kind of unnerving thing.
I could see them doing that with like less justification narratively, even just because like, you're moving down this narrative pipeline. You don't want to have birds chirping and singing songs in your final scene necessarily.
Well, I would say I didn't notice that consciously, but now that you say it, it definitely, there is this way that this dread is built up. You do have that one scene where he's going around and like trying to call different agencies, and he's kind of losing his grasp on reality or trust or whatever. But there is this ominous existence, and it probably comes through stuff like that with the sound design, but and also just like the people moving through the streets. This movie is so fucking good because it's not having to do, it's being clever. Now, there's some amazing effects that we already mentioned, so it does also look good. But just like the scene of the people's legs walking like in unison, where it's the shot, you can't see anybody's, it's like 2/3 through the movie or whatever, but or maybe later. It's showing everybody's.
Is it when they're in line for the pods, or
no? I think it's when Matthew and Elizabeth are trying to like fit in with society or something, or they're walking. They're walking through the street, but all the legs are moving like in unison.
Oh yes, I remember where they like turn and see them, and like kind of slowly start gaining speed.
Exactly, and they're like looking over their shoulders and stuff. Yeah. Oh man, and Yeah, just people walking and like people congregating in the streets, but they move in a certain way or they're grouped in a certain way. And that's all it is, though. And then you take out some sound, you take out some natural sound. Oh, there's not birds chirping anymore. This doesn't feel like the regular world that you've been in, but it's subconscious. You're not picking up on that because you're worried about like what's going to happen to these people. It's so fun. It's so good.
I mean, this is one of those movies that I really feel like would be hurt if it added more soundtrack, because the silence in this movie is fucking crushing. Like it's like dreadful and like in a positive way. It adds to the dread. And this movie, like you were saying, like they don't know what's going on, but we do. And that reminded me very much of like the Hitchcock bomb analogy, which for those, this is like extremely famous, and I'm not blowing a whole lot of people's minds with this, but it's this analogy that Hitchcock had, and I'm going to try and read it off of this this post that I found on my first Google to make sure I had it right. It was 4 people are sitting around a table and talking baseball or whatever you like. 5 minutes of it very dull. Suddenly a bomb goes off and blows people to smithereens. What do the audience have? 10 seconds of shock. Now take the same scene and tell the audience that there's a bomb under the table and that it'll go off in 5 minutes. Now the whole emotion the audience is totally different because you've given them that information. Now the conversation about baseball becomes suddenly very vital because they're saying it to you. Because they're saying to you, don't be ridiculous. Stop talking about baseball. There's a bomb under there. You've got the audience working. So that's how this one relays that story. And it's a screenwriting thing. But like that's this whole movie, right? Like that's what the strength of this whole movie is. There's this just crushing feeling of dread all the time because they're always 2, 3, 4 steps behind the curve. And we know it the whole time. Yeah. Because
don't
not just because
police,
of the name of the movie, but because this movie is a remake. It's like an exceptional use of a very basic premise to remake. That's the same sort of thing as The Thing, where it's like we know that there's a danger that somebody might be a thing, or like somebody might be taken over or replicated or whatever. We have that. We know that from the dog. We know that from like being able to gather that pretty quickly. But the characters don't really figure that out right away. So it's like I don't know. It's just very good suspense writing. And that's what keeps this movie going, is the suspense of like, how the fuck are they going to surmount this? There's a whole line of people from all over the goddamn state or country or whatever gathering pods and taking them back home to overtake their friends and family. Like this is like, it's the government, it's everybody. Like everybody has been obfuscating this since the beginning. We don't even know when Leonard Nimoy transitioned. Like we don't know, like we don't see, we're not privy to most of that, and that's what makes the final shot work so goddamn well, where we see Donald Sutherland, and we're just like, is he? Isn't he? He seems fine. No. Is he? And then what's her name comes up, Kate or whoever, it comes up, and he lets out the shriek, and it's just a confirmation of all of the dread that we felt the whole fucking movie. It's just great.
It's a classic ending. Like it's probably one of the best endings in horror or science fiction that you could conjure up. And this movie really is like it's an interesting, it'd be kind of a perfect double bill with The Thing, and I'm sure people have done that already. But it is sort of like a very understated, simpler version of what John Carpenter was able to do with his remake of The Thing. Like when you think of The Thing, it's like it's bright colors and that crazy score that's like half Ennio Morricone, half John Carpenter, and then like The Thing itself is like the pinnacle of 80s practical effects, and like everything here is achieving just as much, but it's like very restrained and like I don't know, and it's just more subtle. But I think they both work in such a great way. That'd be a baller double featured for sure. I would go to. I mean,
it's just like the insidiousness of subtle subterfuge, like in a time where people are afraid of their governments and afraid of, like not even, it's not just the government, but like that's a huge component of this, right? Like that's clearly the central thing I get from this, is that this is warning you against groupthink and just accepting the narrative and all that sort of thing. It's what led to the question everything bumper stickers that eventually led to more caustic shit. But yeah, I don't know. Like it's just very compelling shit. And I also thought about like that Twilight Zone episode, the famous one. They're coming to Elm Street or some shit like that. Like what is it?
I don't know.
It's like the one where like everybody's thinks that their neighbor is been compromised by an outside alien force or something, or like everybody, like they're turning on each other, and it's all a big parallel to the Red Scare, basically.
Yeah.
And then you zoom out at the end of the episode, and whatever extraterrestrial or whatever saying like, see, all we had to do was do one simple thing, and they turned on each other. So what's interesting is that that's a really great story that's kind of telling a similar thing, but it's done in a completely different way, where the people in the movie know already with you that something is amiss, but they don't know what, and it's their paranoia that drives them insane and like tears them apart. It's so interesting because they're making similar points, but they're like the baddies, as they were, are achieving their goals through entirely different means, and it leads to an entirely different strain of events to compel us as an audience. I just thought that was really fucking interesting to think about.
Is it called The Monsters Are Due on Maple Street? Is that the one you're looking for?
That's the one. Yes. Yeah. The Monsters Are Due on. I don't remember what the inciting incident is, but like the power goes out or something, or like something very strange happens. Something stranger than that, I want to say. And then they just are like, well, Jeff, he's been messing with the power line or whatever it is. It's been years.
What's he building in there?
I mean, it's interesting to go back and look at, we see all these like kind of popular films. And another thing it reminded me of specifically too, because the time was the film I did earlier this year, The Conversation, which was 1974, which is it's very much about paranoia, uncertainty. You're not sure if someone's following you, if somebody's watching you, and just this like these scenes that have you set up. They're set up well back to back because you never feel safe no matter what situation you're in. So you go to, as the audience, like knowing what's going on, you go to the bookstore and it's so full of people. And Elizabeth is already starting to notice some people acting weird. And so you're like, get the fuck out of there, because there's people all surrounded you. It's easy for them to grab you or whatever, But then the very next scene is when they go to the mud bath. And then that's where you have this isolated paranoia where there's this body over there or whatever. And so even the idea of like, you got to sleep sometime, there's no safety.
Yeah.
You call the police. There's nobody to call. You try to go in isolation and there's nobody. And even the one lady who survives at the end, it's just another build, amazing payoff. Like everything else that like we've been mentioning in this of no matter what, they try to go to their lab. They're in their house. They're in this bookstore around a lot of people. They're driving through the street or whatever. It's like you're never safe. And even this lady who somehow managed to just go along this whole time and gets, caught in the end. It's so scary. Paranoia. It builds paranoia so well. There's no moment where even you as an audience who knows what's going on, because there's no key. There's no
obvious way to change.
Yeah. There's no way to beat it. Yeah.
It's so fast. That's the thing that's like so like oppressive about it to me, is like this movie is very quiet, and that things are moving at a goddamn fever pitched pace. This whole movie, I think, takes place over the course of like a couple days. You know what I mean?
Like 2 or maybe 3 days.
It's very quick. It's like one night that whatever. Like
well, you had the first
Peter
night
Dinklage
where Jeffrey gets taken over.
Jeffrey, yeah. Like he gets
Peter
taken over.
Dinklage
That takes one night, and like he looks exactly like Peter Dinklage.
He really does.
But like everything is just happening so quickly that like even if they knew exactly what was going on from the jump, there's like nothing they can do. Those flowers are fucking everywhere. The whole movie is an exercise in the feudal resistance. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So even you as an audience there's like frustrating moments where you're like, I mean, I even felt this where I was like, stop calling the police. Or even then, I think maybe one of the most like frustrating as a viewer viewing this, not necessarily in the way the movie's crafted, but just like participating along, was when after they've done all this and they like get in the taxi and it's like, motherfucker, you can't get in a taxi or whatever.
I love that the taxi driver is like, oh, we got a type H on our hands.
Type H. Yeah.
Very subtle, guy.
Right.
Yeah.
Humans.
Yeah. But it's just, I don't know. It's just, there is no obvious answer. And as you keep going along, you realize that like nowhere is safe. There's really nothing that you could do. So in the way that we like to play those games as viewers of like, could I survive this saw trap? Could I get away from this killer? Could I do this? It's like you're watching it, but also you feel that just like helplessness a little bit of like, yeah, you gotta fucking sleep. Like, what are you gonna do? Like, you know, so yeah, it's but it builds it. It doesn't give that to you right away. You know, there are these moments of frustration or this like, oh, try this, do this. Oh, that doesn't work. Oh, we're fucked, aren't we? Yep, we're fucked. Like it just,
this just
it's
feels
such
like
a good ride.
It just feels like it feels like the bar for this kind of paranoia movie to me. Like, and there's so many movies that feature this thing. Like we reviewed Dead and Buried last week, which isn't this movie, but it features the same idea of people being either coerced or brainwashed or whatever, and not
Can't
knowing
trust the
who to
people
trust.
around you.
Right.
Yeah.
Like your lead characters, as the audience experience it, you don't know who to trust. And then on the other extreme of that is like zombie movies where, you know, like, you know exactly who's a zombie for the most part, but you can't trust the people around you to take care of each other. So like, there's just so like, I love how many, like thinking about this in terms of the broader spectrum of film and storytelling in the last, like whatever many years, because it all seems like this paranoia can be come at from so many different angles. It's like a prism. There was something else on the back of the box here that I skipped over, but I wanted to read it real quick and see if you guys really leaned into this when you were watching it, this idea. So it says, transposing the action to the heart of San Francisco allows Kaufman to retain all the suspense of Jack Finney's original story while adding caustic social commentary about the selfishness of the 1970s, quote, me generation that remains all too relevant today. The me generation is something I don't think I had ever heard of before. Are you guys familiar with that? Buddy.
It sounds like a yes. Okay.
Oh,
yes, but like in the sense that is like a moniker that's been given to just about every generation since the dawn of
selfish
fucking
little
time.
shits. Yeah,
like literally millennials were given that. Gen Z, like it's the me generation. Like Time magazine has done like 4 different covers on this, separated by like 15 years each or some shit. Like it's crazy.
We are the me generation.
Like, well, I mean, the one, so you just reading that, the first thing that popped up in my mind was the scene of the guy jumping on the car and then running off and getting hit by a car, and the whole kind of lifeless society gathering around to like watch him or to look at him. That was kind of like the most potent moment maybe of that kind of social commentary, especially within I don't know, for some reason this popped up in my mind. There's a lot of 30 Rock jokes about like living in New York and like how cold people are, or how you're just like nobody even like sees you as like a human anymore, just because it's so busy and like there's, you know, people just pass you by without even looking at you or even giving you any kind of like thought or consideration or anything like that. And like, that scene specifically kind of sticks out in my mind, but it's not something that was like living with me as I was experiencing this film.
Yeah, and like honestly, like, sorry, go ahead, Bob.
It sort of jumped out at me a little bit in Leonard Nimoy's sort of the way he describes Elizabeth's relationship and how she's using this idea of an imposter as a way to abdicate responsibility from her relationship. Like she doesn't want the responsibility, so she's fabricating a way to get out of the responsibility, which that seems really interesting to me. And another way you could kind of take it, I think, is if you are watching this movie, perhaps the aliens are able to take over so easily because people are not paying attention to things around them. They're very hyper focused on their own little microcosm of their own lives, what's happening immediately around them. So, which I think you could absolutely say that about, again, every generation. But yeah, some of that just kind of made me think about this movie slightly differently. What did you get, Randy?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's true. I don't remember what I was originally going to say, but like to that point, like it's true. I think the me generation thing, I don't even think it's a generational thing. I think it's a humanity thing. Like having individual needs and focuses, like that's not something necessarily that is bad. That is just something that is a quirk of humanity. Like there are differences. Like Justin, you've talked about how in Korea there's like more of a focus on community and doing things for the good, for the good of the community and things like that. The greater good. But in America, like rugged individualism is a thing and is like has a causticness to it. I don't know, like just seeing how that stuff plays out in different like eras and things like that. I don't think that it's all that different. In the words of one of my favorite YouTuber/journalists, I think people have been dumb assholes since the dawn of time, and I think this movie is resonant now because that's true. Because like if there is a critique being made about people's individual focus on themselves or whatever, and maybe it is, if this movie is like criticizing the idea of like talking to a therapist about your problems or about how way you perceive things, like I don't necessarily buy into that on a whole level. Like I think that like what is it, not interrogated, but like an unexamined life ain't worth living. That's the phrase, right? I think I brought this up a week or two ago. Like that's true. You have to examine yourself or else you're repressing your shit and you're like gonna have fucking problems for the rest of your life if you're not confronting yourself, your problems, things like that. So I don't necessarily see that, but this movie is making a bigger point that like you can be led astray by people who think they know better than you do what's happening in front of your very eyes. So there's like a little bit of a push and pull balance on that for me internally as just thinking philosophically about it. But this movie is very like, no, you should trust yourself, which is also valuable. I don't know.
Well, to me, one of the things that stuck out specifically about that character and kind of how frustrating he was, it felt like a little bit more fleshed out version of that lady from The Birds who's in the diner, who's like, I know all about birds, and no, birds wouldn't do that, where it's supposed to be the logical, practical mind who's supposed to evaluate this and give you maybe some kind of answer or to give you some kind
authority.
of hope of defeating it or some kind of key to unlocking, what you should do next. But they're just as lost as you are or whatever. They're just as incapable of dealing it with it as you. So to me, I kind of added this feeling of the hopelessness of like, nobody can deal with this. Nobody can. Well, I mean,
and that's the thing is like Nimoy is making sense. Like he's like, well, do you want me to believe that your husband has been taken over by an alien presence? Because I can't believe that. You have to I would react that way too. There are things that are unprecedented that you have to be confronted with in order to believe. That's just a basic truth.
Yeah.
That is why like this movie is the question everything movie. It's like that is its core thesis in my mind, is like, don't trust authoritarians, do trust yourself. Like that's what this movie ultimately says to me. And like, if they had trusted themselves from the beginning, maybe they could have like gotten the fuck out of Dodge quicker. But like, there's a lot to learn, and I don't even think that was even possible. But they would have maybe stood a better chance. It just seems like that's like sort of just the central thesis. If I was to put a fine point on it,
gotta sleep sometime,
Mm-hmm.
Any other major points you guys want to hit on before we rate this thing?
I'm good.
No.
Nada. All right, let's do it. Out of 5. Juice, how do you feel about Invasion of the Body Snatchers?
This was a delight to watch. I was absolutely giddy, and I'm glad that I still like get these opportunities. Every now and then this, classic pops up that never seen before, and it lives up to the hype. And like I'd mentioned before, it's happened a few times on this cast, and this is one of them. I was just so giddy watching this. I was so impressed from the very beginning that, like I said, the space scene, the goop coming down, it just all looked good. And then you're right there with the characters, and it's easy to follow along with them. They have good chemistry. The acting is really good. The dialogue is set up really good. There is this, even though it's like pretty grounded and feels lived in, there also is this element of fantastical nature of this character. Like we said, the guy going in and just like knowing everything about this restaurant and being exceptionally good at his job to a fictional degree. But like it's fun to watch. It makes it entertaining. So I loved their interactions together. Elizabeth and Matthew were really good. I love the surprise of, Jeff Goldblum showing up. And of course, he's got amazing charisma. I kind of like, if anything, just wish there was more of him. But yeah. And then the ending too, I didn't know that was going to be the ending. And it was so great. Like, what a rare experience to just like go into like something like this and just experience it. But it was so fun to me. That ending was like fantastic. Elizabeth melting away into dust, and oh man, it's all so good. The pods being birthed, and they look so fucked up, and then all the dump trucks and everything. Yeah, it's great. Even if I was going to like critique it on something, I was thinking like, even if somehow I drop this down to a 4.5, it'd still get bumped back up because you get half star for the Yabo. So I might as well not even like try.
Don't even play.
Yeah, so this is definitely going to be a 5-star film, no matter what way you swing it, because there's definitely no justification for ever even dropping below 4.5. So it's going to be a 5-star for me, Bob. I really enjoyed watching this. It lived up to the hype. A lot of fun, and it was a good week. Good week for movie watching. Bob, out of 5, how do you feel about Invasion of the Booty Snatchers, 1979 album?
I mean, I feel about the same as you do, man. The first time I put this record on, I was just transported to another place, brother.
It's full of booty.
I was snatching it. This movie's great, like top to bottom. It's really fantastic. All the performances are just like dialed in so well. It's written incredibly well. You can feel the tension from moment to moment just sort of ratchet up in a way that it feels like you're in the hands of a filmmaker that like knows exactly the movie he's making, and like at every turn you're sort of pleasantly surprised. I love all the practical effects. The sound design in this is like top notch. Another thing, like watching movies from like the 70s, it's something, they feel like so natural, like the way they're lit. Like when you watch movies today, they're like blue or gray or green or orange, or like this just looks like a city. Like, I don't know, just like simple little things like that where you just feel like you're in a real place with real people experiencing like real fear and terror. It just feels so grounded, even though the movie's about aliens that are plants that are making copies of people. And like, I don't know, I really love the grounded feeling of this movie. I love the concept of an alien that is a flower, how cool that is, and that they're going to make copies of you that come out of these fucking pods, and that potentially they're going to get some sort of like cross DNA fuck up and make a dog with a human face. Like all that shit is insane. Like if there was somehow a sequel to this, which, obviously there wasn't one made, but like, would we see like more fucked up like alien hybrid creatures or something like that? My mind just kind of ran with that idea. The scream is amazing. The ending of this movie is such an iconic ending. I'm kind of blown away that it wasn't spoiled for you, Juice. Me
too.
It was a meme for a while. People would use that image of him pointing and screaming for like forever. Everything. I love this sort of neo-noir kind of vibe of them, going around the city, trying to figure out what's going on, trying to crack it. The little moments where Matthew's calling the police for like the 4th time and he doesn't give him his name, but they use his name, is like such a simple,
That's cool.
chilling moment. Yeah, I mean, if I had a critique, I would say maybe the cat and mouse feels a little bit long towards the third act. Maybe they could have sped it up a touch, but that's it. I mean, that's nitpicky, honestly. And I think we could go a lot longer on this. I feel like we're just scratching the surface of it.
Absolutely.
This is definitely a movie that you can watch time and time again, and I think really pull a lot out of. So it's thick, it's layered, it's grounded. It feels awesome, man. So 5 stars. What else could I say? 5 stars from your boy.
Thick,
Bob.
it's layered, it feels awesome.
Feels awesome.
Straight chill out.
Hell yeah, brother! Snatch that booty. Randy, how do you feel?
Yeah. So I more or less agree with everything you guys have said about this. Like,
Disagree with me, I dare you.
There's something that like about watching this for a second or third time. Like, I still get stuff out of this. There's still plenty to talk about, but I just feel like a subsequent watch, as much as you can pull out of it, it doesn't pack the same punch. So I didn't have a giddy experience this time like Justin did, but I remember being like blown away the first time I saw this. Cause I don't know, like as somebody from our generation, you just kind of think of 70s stuff as like, I don't know, like just much schlockier than this. It's just what I was anticipating, especially some Invasion of the Body Snatchers. It was a remake of the 50s or whatever, so like that's where the title came from, but I didn't really understand that. Like, there's 2 ways that movies like this can be remade. They can either lean into the hokiness, or they can lean into this like sincerity of it. And this one leans into the sincerity, and it pays off big time. But like my rewatches of like, I wouldn't say they've suffered, but they've not reached the same heights. I don't know if that's even a fault, really. It's just I'm trying to think critically about this movie, and that comes to mind. But I like so much about this. It's the way that the silence is used, just the knowledge that they're fucked throughout. Like that, I guess that's part of what's missing. Is like missing. That's part of what's missing here. Is like on a second watch is like I know how fucked they are. And so, like, maybe some of those tensions are dialed back for that reason. I don't think I'm going to ding it too much for that. But I don't know. Like, I have questions about the nuts and bolts of this. Like, how much information do these people retain memory-wise? Like they say that's painless, and you wake up and you're just your same self. But I don't know, is that true? Because wouldn't the last person who spoke to you, if they get transitioned, just know what your plan is at that point? Like, I was thinking to myself, if this movie was remade today and they wanted to do an inversion of the ending, they could have what's her name come up to the guy and say like, "Oh my God, you're still alive. Are you all right?" or whatever. And the guy would be like, "Holy shit, you're still alive. I can't believe it. This is insane. What are we going to do?" And then she screams at him because she was able to get under his defenses by just knowing him before she transitioned.
Yeah.
Like, I think there's some interesting stuff that can be done with remakes to this, but like this is one of those movies that's like such a perfect remake. It's like The Thing, it's like The Blob. It's a really tough act to follow. They kind of perfected the formula, and I know they did a 90s version that is not widely liked, but I haven't seen it.
It's not bad, but it's not this.
Yeah.
Right. That's the general temperature I get from people's reaction to that. I do like, Rob, you mentioned like a neo-noir feel to this, and I totally get that. And like, if it feels Cronenberg-y in that way to me, or when you said that, I was like, yeah, it kind of has like a weird, not so dramatic Crimes of the Future sort of thing going on.
Yeah.
And not so body horror either. But like, yeah, and the effects, man, it's just like very simple effects. Yeah, no crazy bone chairs and shit. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I really like this movie, and I'm trying my hardest to be critical for it, but I just really like it. I think that it's everything you guys said was right. All that stuff is good. So I think I'm going to give it a 5. I think I'm going to 5. I was on the fence. I feel like there's something in me that feels like there's something that you could critique about this movie, and it would be a fair ding. And maybe that's part of why I wasn't feeling it as much this time. But I can't put my finger on it, so I'm just going to give it a 5 and room for further analysis later.
Room to regress.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, I mean, yeah, simple math. That's going to be a 5 from the Straight Chilling crew.
It stinks.
Let's jump over into our Rotten Tomatoes segment and see what the critics and users have to say.
Certified.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is the Rotten Tomatoes segment in which I'm going to have these two gents guess within the best of their abilities what the aggregate positive score is on RottenTomatoes.com from both critics and users. Invasion of the Body Snatcher 78 has 69 critical reviews. 69 reviews. There's 69 of those.
Thank God.
How many? Whoa.
There's 69 dudes that have weighed in here.
69 dudes!
And we're going to start with Bob today, I think. Bob, out of those 69 dudes, what percentage would you say gave this a positive review? Critics, remember.
I think this is a bit of a critical darling. I think it's going to be very high. Just how high is the question?
My question every day.
Ooh.
How high?
92.
92. All right. Year of our Lord, 1992 from Bob. Soju, you following up? You going high? You going low?
I gotta go with the Straight Chillin' Spesh of 96 dudes.
96 dudes. Ass to back of head.
Dudes.
The best. I like to rest my head upon an ass.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Snatch
Well,
it.
also simple math here. This is just a hair away from a perfect guess from one of you. And that one of you, the person who guessed the closest, is Bob. Bob got this one just 1 percentage point off. It's a 93%. 93%.
That's
There
a
you
hell
go.
skeet.
It's a hell something, I'm told.
I'm told.
I'm going to jump over to the audience and then we'll do a critics consensus. So the audience score has a hefty sum, a tidy sum of 25,000 plus ratings in here.
Whoa.
So pretty good size. Start with Juice this time. Out of those 25,000 ratings, what would you wager is the aggregate positive score?
It's still got to be super high, but just on sheer volume, I'll drop it a little bit lower because there's always people throwing some crazy negative opinions out there. Sometimes about movies, sometimes about podcasts. I'm going to give, I'll say 89.
89 percentile. All right, Bob, what about you?
Yeah, I think the sheer number is going to drive it down a touch, but still high overall. People love this movie, so I'm going to take the over. I'll take a 91.
If it's a 90, we can tie.
Yeah.
Bob, what's so funny?
There will be no tie, I'm sad to say. One of you is certainly closer than the other. And that person is going to be Soju. We got a split today.
Dude, how many Skeetin' Eats are we
I don't know. It's been like
we're
a month,
on a
right?
we're on a streak of Skeetin' Eats.
The classic.
I was wondering if we were going to keep it going. Holy shit.
You're going to keep it going. You're going to keep it
Shit's
going.
wild.
That
But
is pretty wild.
82% is kind of low.
Wow.
82.
I would have guessed higher. I would have guessed right along. Yeah.
I was focused on the Skeetin' Eats.
Yeah. It's very
Aren't we all?
No. Damn.
Well,
Yeah, that's
82.
I mean, it's
Yeah,
not
that's weird.
it's not like it's not offensively low, but it's just a little bit like
It's strangely low.
yeah. Let's read the critics' consensus. It reads as follows. Employing gritty camera work and evocative sound effects, Invasion of the Body Snatchers is a powerful remake that expands upon themes and ideas only lightly explored in the original. So there you go. I think none of us having been too familiar with the original, it's going to be tough for us to
Yeah.
agree or disagree. But
Yeah.
I mean, that makes sense. The 50s, that wasn't a time that was necessarily all about getting that social commentary in their monster movies. So, I mean, they work them in because it's sci-fi and that's what you build it out of. But then you also build out of wire and duct tape and put it on a screen as quickly as you can.
Yep.
So,
Hell yeah.
there you go.
Oh. Well, hell's skeeting ye, Bob.
Word. Love to see it.
All right.
I love it.
Man, just whoa. How long can we keep this going?
Till episode
see.
500.
Find out next week.
We got to ride it all the way through.
We got to find out what the streak is, and then we'll just keep count. We got to keep a skeet and eat counter.
I think it's been at least. I think this is at least the fourth, potentially the fifth week in a row.
Yeah.
Ever since Caitlin was on, and I think the week maybe even before that. So yeah.
Yeah. No streaks. No streaks happening here. All right. Let's read a couple of negative reviews because those are often a little bit funny. Often. That's very generous.
Sometimes.
All right. Here's a negative review.
Occasionally.
Maybe once
in a blue moon.
Yeah. Despite a few creepy moments and some fascinating special effects, the remake of Invasion of the Body Snatchers is a disappointment. Well, that's very thorough.
Oh, what?
It's just disappointment.
Damn.
Yeah.
Why do people
Someone was paid for
watching?
that,
Sometimes, like, I just can't understand.
Haters gonna hate.
Like, even disappointment? You got nothing from this movie? What?
Maybe this next one will... I'm sorry?
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Maybe this next one will have a little bit more to it. Although both versions derive from the same Jack Finney novel, the mood of the newer one is closer to the Stepford Wives than it is to Siegel's original. Now that I could see as a source of disappointment if you love the original, but I wouldn't agree with that. I don't think, not having read it, obviously, but like, give me a little extra Stepford. Well, give me a little something, you know. I wonder what was different. If there's other commentary that's happening that is in this commentary's place, then maybe there's something to be disappointed about. But if it's just like, no, I just want a straightforward tale about flower people coming and taking over, just like the hippies. I don't know. That doesn't ring true for me.
Science fiction.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Sci-fi's famously apolitical. All right, one more, and then we'll call it a day on this. All the tension and scariness of the original has gone, and in its place is a bit of floppy old cabbage. See the 50s version if you can.
Damn. All right.
What does that mean? What does that fucking mean?
I like cabbage personally, so bring it.
There's no tension in this movie? None?
One thing I wanted to mention before is, dude, Jeff Goldblum at one point in the movie says he's 6'4" and 170 pounds. And I was like, holy shit.
He's skinny, but I don't know, man. That doesn't seem right.
That seems super thin.
Yeah.
6'4", 170. I mean, I know it's the 70s, and he did look particularly thin in this, but
it's the 70s.
Weren't eating back then.
People just emaciated
they were a lot
themselves.
smaller. I mean,
does anyone want to switch seats?
But anyways, just thought I'd mention.
Yeah, that's it for Rotten Maters, though. Bob, how's that trivia looking? Have we integrated all already?
No, there's a good bit more. Let's do it.
It's totally time for trivia.
All right, boys. Yeah, there's a decent amount of trivia on this one. So this was released in the United States over the Christmas weekend of 1978.
Oh, wow.
And it grossed nearly $25 million. And if that number is adjusted for inflation, present day, it would have grossed $117 million. Pretty solid.
I guess that's a lot, I guess, but I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, a science fiction movie on Christmas weekends.
So that's just one weekend. Oh, okay, yeah, I guess that's
so it's a sneaky Christmas
just
movie.
The weekend.
Whoa.
Came out at Christmas time.
Precisely. If you know the trivia, then you can
the
watch it during
sneakiest Christmas movie. No indication in the runtime, but it's there.
It's there. So this was definitely successful. Robert Duvall, who had previously worked with Philip Kaufman on the great Northfield, Minnesota raid from 1972, happened to be in San Francisco at the time of filming and shot his only scene for free. He's the dude that plays the crazy priest swinging at the beginning of the movie, which is like jarring.
swinging?
Yeah, he's like on a swing, and the camera actually follows his point of view.
Yeah.
For a second.
Oh, yeah.
I forgot about that. That was very strange. I didn't know that was Robert Duvall, though. I guess I don't recognize him when he's not geriatric, I don't think. Yeah.
Damn.
The leather half glove that David Kibner's wearing in this movie, he wore deliberately for the sole purpose of making the character more distinctive and recognizable. Apparently, Leonard Nimoy got the idea from a friend who wore it to cover a burn on his hand.
Okay. V for Vendetta style. All right.
Yeah. During the...
Bringing it back.
Do it. You won't.
Half leather
You
glove.
won't.
Gambit style.
During the taxi ride, Donald Sutherland and Brooke Adams' nervousness is genuine. Don Siegel, who was the director of the 1956 version of the film, was driving the cab and had lost so much of his vision that he was driving, and he was also driving through the streets of San Francisco without his glasses on for some reason. I don't know why you'd do that. So they were apparently terrified.
That's a specific place you would never want to do that. Also, like
so unnecessary.
San Francisco of all places, like the streets there are like at a fucking full 45-degree angle. It's crazy.
Oh! I thought you were saying like the highways were crazy.
Well, I mean it's an incredibly busy place to drive around, but also like some of those
the hills,
streets are extreme in terms of elevation.
That would freak me out.
It makes me nervous. Yeah.
Never been there, but I'll take your word for it. Harry, the homeless banjo guy in this movie, that wasn't actually him playing the banjo and singing. Apparently, the song was performed by the Grateful Dead frontman Jerry Garcia, and the song is called "Going Down the Road Feeling Bad," which apparently was a tune the Dead would often play.
Oh, I think that's a Woody Guthrie song originally.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me to hear, actually.
I'm gonna have to look it up just to be sure. The Lonesome Road Blues is the AKA. Yeah. Okay, it was originally first known recording is from Henry Witter, an Appalachian singer. So it's a I don't know what
old-timey
an Americana,
standard,
old-timey soon. Yeah, standard. Guthrie, Bob Dylan, Skeeter Davis, Elizabeth Cotton.
Oh boy, Skeeter.
And Grateful Dead, yeah.
Skeet Davis.
Yeah.
The night after the movie's release, someone put pods like those in the movie all over the streets of Los Angeles. Some folks got freaked out, thought they were real, and called the cops.
Nice.
That's the best shit in the world.
Hell
I love it.
Yeah, that's cool.
Hell yeah, brother.
Yeah.
Producer Robert H. Solo mentioned in a book that he wrote about this called They're Here. The Brooke Adams, Jeff Goldblum, and Leonard Nimoy each got paid $25,000 for their roles, and your boy D. Sutherland was paid between $200,000 and $300,000.
Damn, Donald was pulling weight back then, man.
Apparently, I didn't realize, but that's pretty good.
Yeah, he was a sex symbol back then. I want to say, like,
whoa. Back then, I mean,
yeah. He's 88 now. I guess they never take away your title. I was trying to stall while I checked if he was dead or not. If you want the honest truth.
Some people be into that too, man.
No kink shame, but also, yeah, kink shame maybe.
It's getting so hot in here. It's just so...
Not down with necrophilia. I'll go ahead and stand out on that limb.
Randy.
Such a prude.
Who among us am right?
I'm just a real bad guy.
For shame!
Bad guy. Close-minded, maybe. Bad, nah.
Hey,
you know.
Vanilla,
sure.
Being close-minded is my kink. Can't say shit. Being a closed-minded picket is my kink.
Oh, Vanilla Randy won't even bang a corpse. Unbelievable.
Bobo.
All right, Bobo.
The bagpipe version of Amazing Grace that's playing in this movie also played during the send-off of Spock's coffin in Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan from 1982.
Cool. I didn't know that.
Philip Kaufman and Frank Pearson both used to occasionally frequent a Scots-themed bar where the piece would be played, and they vowed to beat each other to use the tune first in their films.
Well,
there you go.
I mean,
There you go.
yeah.
Scots-themed bar. Let's do it.
Sounds fun.
Fun. Yeah, this is us adding commentary.
That's
Yeah.
fun.
Fun.
This is the last bit I got here. Veronica Cartwright was not told that Sutherland's character had been captured and turned into an alien.
Oh.
So when they
Cool.
filmed the end in front of San Francisco City Hall, Sutherland pointed to her and imitated the pod scream, and Cartwright's reaction of cold fear was authentic.
Dude, that's
Well,
awesome.
She was probably just playing a role still.
I mean,
I wonder what she
probably
thought he was
acting
gonna say.
Still
Like,
going.
what-
I doubt
Yeah.
she's terrified.
I want to see like what her script said, though. I'd be very curious to see
Yeah,
what
what
he
she
was
was
supposed to say
expecting.
in her mind.
Mhm.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
That'd
that's
be cool.
interesting. That's cool. Ah, what an ending though. That ending's great.
This is good
It
shit.
was great.
Good shit. Iconic,
like it.
some might say. But that's all the trivia I
PG,
got.
others might say.
Let's jump into our Cooter of the Week.
Straight chillin'.
Cooter of the
Juice, what is a cooter and why do we hunt them?
Well, Bob, Cooter is a character type and a straight chilling exclusive.
Nice.
Wow, that pod worked fast. Justin can't put together syllables yet.
Cooter's a character type, but a straight chilling exclusive. Cooter has to hit 3 of these 5 points to be considered a cooter, but we want the cooter with the most points. The 5 points of cooterdom are sexual deviance, manipulation, smug arrogance, overall look and attire, and overall patheticness. Boys, do we have a cooter this week? I think
The
this is a little bit more
flowers.
obscure.
Yeah, I mean, I think the only answer that I have ready to go would be just the invaders,
Yeah.
whatever you want to define
There's-
them as.
Yeah,
I'm trying to think of
wonder
any
the
human
psychiatrist. Maybe we could
It's tough
give
to
like some
say.
smug arrogance. Yeah, I guess you don't
Yeah.
know which version is him and which one is a pod.
Well, I mean, you look at if you're giving him smug arrogance, if you're assuming that he's human when you first meet him, and so is Jeff Goldblum, we know that much. I think both of them suffer from that same thing, the same amount of it too. Like if one is smug, then the other is definitely smug. I mean, Goldblum is explicitly like his work is terrible. It's terrible work or whatever he says. Like it's like
I love that.
It's dog shit. Like
Bob, it's not that funny.
I'm going off, boys. Can't be contained.
Take it off.
I don't know.
Sputtering plane is taking off, boys. Bob, are you laughing at Morse code? What?
Bob's sending an SOS.
Bob, what is it?
Call
What
the
is it, boy?
police.
What is it? Someone stuck in the lake? Huh? What is it, boy?
Oh, someone's stuck in the
I
lake.
just, for some reason, can't talk anymore.
Help me! I'm trapped in the lake. Oh man! All right, what were we talking about?
I don't know.
Okay.
Cooters. We're hunting here. So yeah, okay. Yeah, I guess it's hard for everybody because you never know. You're never 100% certain in a lot of cases whether somebody's a pod person or not. So
I'll tell you this:
yeah.
appearance-wise, Peter Dinklage ass motherfucker has a very good like greasy 70s like. I don't know, like Wall Street dipshit kind of look to him, especially when he's giving the cold glare of a pod person. But I mean, when he's a person, I don't remember him like having much impact. He seemed fairly normal, like unremarkable.
Just likes basketball.
Yeah, he's just a big basketball guy, and he ignores his girlfriend a little.
He was watching
So-
the game with headphones on, I found that to be very strange.
I thought that was like
did that.
Yeah, really? Technology flex for the time.
Yeah, it was like
honestly, I thought it was kind of like the same thing when I watch Christmas Vacation and the Ice Cube blows up their like CD player.
They're both stereo.
Or whatever. They're both stereo. Yeah,
I don't know, Margot.
It's just something to like make it seem like somebody's hip for the time.
Yeah,
cool.
That crazy phone too that had the retractable cord on it into the wall.
They paid special interest to the cord snapping back. Do you notice that? I wonder why. Like they cut to a close up of the cord snapping. Very weird.
It was weird.
Anyway, that's not a Cooter though. So
it's got to be the pod people. Nobody's gonna trump the pod people. It's got
so manipulation.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, check.
But they don't have smug arrogance, do they? Or do they?
No,
where they say like
placid. Well, I mean, yes and no. Think about it. Like, I think that At World's End really does expound on this idea really well. At the end of that movie, there's like they talk to Bill Nighy as the invading force leader or whatever, and he's like, "We're here to make things simpler for you. Everybody will get everything they need." And they're like, "No, we want to we want to be individuals." Is basically the thing. Yeah. And so like. If they have that thing like we know better than you what you not want, then I think you can give them smugness.
Yeah. They definitely do. Yeah, I mean they're like,
but they may. It's also. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
They're like, yeah, you're no longer gonna have a need to love or hate. Like everything's gonna be better. Like So yeah, I would say.
But you could chalk that up to more manipulation as a pattern of biology, because this movie positions them as a biological force, not an ideological force.
Yeah, like a true parasite just taking over. Yeah.
There's no sexual deviance in this film. Not that I can remember.
No, I don't think so.
Looking attire even for the 70s, everyone's looking okay. Nobody was looking super strange.
Sutherland's trench coat is it's nice. It's a clean coat.
Yeah. So I don't know. Maybe Cooter free. Maybe Cooter free here. I can't clock like anyone.
If you want to give them a tire for the dog with a human face, that's kind of fucked up.
I'm okay with it. I can live with the mutations. The thing is, like, I see it as an amoral force in the term in terms of like not having a morality. I don't think it has a morality. I think it's like the thing. It consumes.
Just
it consumes
functions.
Worlds. Yeah.
Well, all right.
So I don't know.
Nature's a son of a bitch. There you
Nature is a son of a bitch. All right.
Cooter free. Who would have thought?
Who'd have thunk?
Not me. Cool. We're going to skip over what we've been watching this week because your boy has a hard out tonight. But we do
hardest out.
It's really hard. We do have a voicemail, though. So let's get into our Hotline Screams.
Hotline Scream.
If you guys are listening and would like to call and leave a voicemail to be featured on next week's show, you can hit us up at 904-638-3231. Tonight we're going to be hearing from our boy JT. Let's hear what he's got to say.
What up, Straight Chillin' crew? It's your boy JT, representing the fucking Dayton, Ohio chapter of the Straight Chillin' crew. Don't necessarily have anything specific to talk about. Just wanted to come on here and show my love. Been a long time fan of the show. It's fucking been my favorite podcast for 6 years now. I listen to you guys practically on a daily basis at work. And I just appreciate y'all being such a big part of my life. And, I guess I don't really have any really summer plans. I do. And, I guess it's technically happening right before fall. I go to, there's a convention called Horror Hound that I go to every year. It's happening in September, a few days before fall. So I guess you can consider that summer plans. Other than that, I'm just going to be, chilling, hanging out. But yeah, you guys, keep chilling, and sorry for sounding like an awkward piece of shit, because that is who I am as a person. Yeah, keep chilling, yo.
Hey, now, I won't accept the idea that the proud city of Dayton would produce such a piece of shit. The birthplace of the Wright brothers, if I recall. So, or at least their bike shops there. You know, thanks.
No.
Very kind.
Yeah, man. Thanks
from our
for
boy.
support and listening,
DT.
and welcome to the Slack. I haven't been on there as much as I usually am, but yeah, I saw you on there, my guy. So welcome.
Yeah. Thanks for the kind words and for being hard with us for 6+ years or whatever. That's
Damn.
super badass. Yeah, love to hear it. I've never been to Ohio, but I've heard of the monster or Whorehound Weekend, I think is what he said.
I've heard of it too. Yeah.
It sounds like a good time. It seems like one of the bigger horror conventions in the country, at least as far as I can tell, anyways. So it seems worth checking out.
Yeah.
I would love it. There's just too much to do, man.
Field trip.
Yeah. There's too much to do. Summer plans wise, like we already got plenty of summer plans in the form of just like multiple festivals we got to cover. We don't want to spoil it, but holy shit.
Oh my lord, here we go, boys.
Yeah, I did hear
festival season.
JT said we could just crash at his house though, so I'll see y'all there in September.
Oh, sweet. Right? I didn't hear that at all, but I appreciate you listening closely.
Towards
good.
End.
Oh.
He's
I don't think this train's slowing down until after Christmas, so strap in.
It's never. It's a bullet train, boys.
It's a bullet plane. It's a bullet train that starts at birth and ends in the casket, is what I was trying to get at.
Damn.
Yep.
You can't kill me,
PlayStation
boys.
3 commercial.
You can only make me dead.
Yeah. That's my philosophy, you know?
Yeah.
That's how I live my life.
I stand by that.
Cool. Yeah, thanks again for calling in, JT, man. And it's awesome having you on the Slack and, taking a larger role in our little community. And, consider this another commercial for the Slack if you guys are listening and would like to join in. A great group of folks on there that listen to the show and are into horror and are super kind and thoughtful people. So if you want to join, just hit us up on one of our social media outlets and I'll send you a link and you can join in too.
And there's like a 78% chance that if you join the Slack, you will have a podcast by the end of the year of your own. So it's the pipeline.
Yeah,
join
the
the pipeline.
The odds are very good. That's it this week. Do you guys have any prompts you want to throw out for next week?
Good question. Maybe.
What do you want for Christmas?
Right.
What? Come on.
Because we're celebrating.
I assume we're talking about Mothman next week.
Yeah. Christmas in June.
Here's my question then. I mean, it being a cryptid episode, what cryptids are local to you, and what cryptids do you actually think might exist? If you actually think that Bigfoot's out there, I want to hear from you. If you actually think that Mothman is a thing, or the skunk ape, or the Wendigo, or the Ozark Howler, or whatever, let us know. And if not, just tell us your local fave.
I believe in the Winnebago out there, creeping.
Oh, Winnebago man out there cursing up a storm.
Watch your profanity.
Yeah, next week we're talking about the Mothman
Call in, Henry.
From 2002, which was the winner of the June poll. I remember years ago, and I can't remember who it was, but I was talking to somebody about the Mothman prophecies, and they full on believed the Mothman was real and like had a fucked up story about it. I can't remember who it was. If you're listening, call in. Tell us your Mothman story.
It's a pretty high threshold for me to buy any of it, but I love heering people talk about it if they believe it.
Yeah,
me too, man. Yeah, cryptid stories next week.
Just like nothing I'd ever smelled before in my life.
904-638-3231. Hit us up. And check out the Mothman. Get ready for next week's show. I can't remember if it's streaming anywhere. I know it's on Blu-ray. You could probably rent it digitally. I think it's pretty easy to find, pretty accessible. So check it out. Yeah. Till next week. As always, all you mother truckers, please keep chilling.